Ways I know who you are. Tell us a little bit about what your role is at the company and how measurement might. Let's just do the role first.
Sure. So Bob Pittman and John Hogan have started this massive, interesting, fun transformation of the company. And there's a brand new executive team. I'm privileged enough to be part of it. And I get to do big data, little data, internal data, external data, everything from CRM to regular old market research. But really, if I think about my job, I think about it very much in terms that Jack talked about it earlier today. I think of myself as growing the business, and I think of myself as chief talent coach. And that's what makes it really interesting and really fun and challenging as well.
Tell us something about the assets that Clear Channel has.
So there are massive, diverse, interesting assets. It's the largest media company in America. The radio business alone reaches 240 million Americans every single month, which is, a little bit more than Google, a little bit more than Facebook, a little bit more than all the broadcast networks.
Oh, they're all frowning.
I know, right? And I've worked with all of them. So, but what is interesting is the diversity of the business, because there's a radio business, there's a broadcast business, there are several different digital businesses, there's a huge events business, there's a global business, there's an outdoor business. And so when you put all of those pieces together, that's when you start to have some fun.
Well, you're starting to have some fun with measurement. What are you doing with measurement that you can share with us, please?
So it's interesting, right? Measurement, of course, is the core to what many of us do. We've had this debate today about whether there's a crisis in measurement or not. And there are several people who have, there's a range of opinion on this topic. I actually fundamentally believe there is a crisis in measurement. Okay. Steve Hasker, my friend over at Nielsen, talks about the importance of measurement in really poetic terms, right? He talks about measurement as bringing rationality to irrational markets. I think of measurement the way you need to think about data in Wall Street. The system only works if everyone knows the same stuff, right? It only works if there is transparency and efficiency and so on. And I don't believe we're at a moment in history today where there is transparency. I'm glad that Jack is doing CNN everywhere. He shouldn't have to. I'm glad Artie is doing what he's doing and Alan's doing what he's doing, but we shouldn't have to. And they all play rationally and ethically. But there are plenty of companies, especially pure play digital companies, that don't play ethically in this space, right? They just kind of make up the numbers. And that's not good for any of us. So I believe, and so my rallying cry is to the measurement companies. If you want to stay relevant, if you want to stay important, and if you want to bring rationality to these irrational businesses, I know you're all working on innovation, but we all need to work smarter, faster, harder, better, because yeah, it's hard, but it's not as hard as putting people on the moon or mapping the human genome or any of those things. So let's kind of get on with it.
How much of your time? I remember last year, one of the folks I spoke to said she spends so much time seeing suppliers, partners, and she could spend even more time. That take up a lot of your day?
Absolutely. I mean, I have entire traffic cops kind of managing that portion of my life. The thing is, I make time for it because it's really, really important. I want to see people all the time because out of all of those companies I see, there will be that one company that grew up in a garage in Silicon Valley or Poughkeepsie that has that major breakthrough that makes so much more possible. So of course you invest the time. But I think we're still looking for more diamonds in the rough.
Very good. You've mentioned that Clear Channel is a multi-billion-dollar company, and two of the platforms, big platforms, are, if you will, radio and outdoor. How do you transform those assets into the digital age? That would be an interesting story.
It's actually not that complicated, right? And this is where the leadership of Bob Pittman, whom you know from, starting MTV and AOL and all of that, comes into play, because we are fundamentally unafraid of digital. We are kind of all in when it comes to digital because we're fundamentally platform agnostic. The way, Bob is very much like Steve Jobs. He uses the Steve Jobs analogy very much. I'd rather cannibalize myself than have someone else cannibalize me. So you kind of have to go all in, even if it means, revenue hiccups or something else in the short term. We'll figure out new advertising formats. We'll figure out how to make money with it, but you cannot get in the way of the consumer. You have to go all in, you have to go digital, and that's why we're among the few brands that promotes our digital brand, iHeartRadio, so much on regular old radio. We don't worry about whether I'm chasing people from this medium into that. And the second we started doing that, the listenership just started to grow tremendously.
Tell a little bit about
Tell a little bit about iHeart. So iHeartRadio is the most diverse digital audio and entertainment platform that's out there. So there's regular old radio that's now available wherever you want, whenever you want. So if you're a KISS fan, you can listen to it in New York, for example. We also have a custom playlist feature. We're tied to many, many different websites that offer video and audio content. So it's a really diverse entertainment and music platform that we promote heavily on linear.
There could be, could people be listening to iHeart stuff and other content and not even realize that it's Clear Channel? I mean, there's nothing.
Oh, absolutely, because the consumer brand is iHeart, right? Clear Channel is a corporate brand.
Yep.
But really, we touch people through iHeart, through Z100, through KISS, and such entities.
Tell me more. Tell us more. Pittman is a legend in the business. He's come back in. What's his philosophy?
Well, he's the real deal, right? He's like, Sean Parker calls him the most entrepreneurial CEO in America.
Oh, she's gonna get really well taken care of when she gets back to the office, right? The boss is a genius. The boss is terrific, and he is quite a talent.
He is, right? But he's not just a genius. He's really fun. But what he is more than anything else is fundamentally fearless. He's like, let's go on. We'll figure out the money. You know, I've done this a couple of times. Just follow me. And he's about. The way he talks to us, to his leadership, is not about, oh, let's go make X million dollars, or let's go, you know, have X many more viewers. He's more about, do you want to be an HBR case study? Do you want to reinvent the business? Do you want to reinvent the business for the next 100 years? And that's how he inspires us. And one example of this is the deal we did with Big Machine last week, which is you're fundamentally rewriting how artists and companies make money off of music. We did this because we believe it'll really fuel digital innovation. And you just have to be unafraid. You have to break the models and you have to remake them. And you kind of have to go for it. And that's what Bob inspires all of us to do.
It's a little harder to do when you're a public company rather than a private company. You've had experience in both.
I will say that our owners are incredibly tolerant, interested, smart. And they have given us the bandwidth to go and do all of this. But again, you know, Bob did this in various public settings, and he brings that history, but also that fearlessness with him.
I'm going to talk about something very specific: advertising formats. This is a big deal in the radio, streaming, audio world. Are you doing anything new, or what in terms of formats?
So we're doing a lot. Like, first of all, let me say that the traditional advertising works, right? Like, radio is better than pretty much any other medium out there in reaching people before the point of purchase and getting them into store and so on. So we're not going away. What is different is the symphony across media. So let me give you an example of what we did with Madonna last year when we got behind her, you know, Give Me All Your Lovin', right? So what we did there was we aired it on 100 stations simultaneously. We played it every hour. We aired it in digital billboards, including right here in Times Square. We aired it globally. We aired it on all our websites. We streamed it. We put all our talent behind it, and it was the #1 pre-order in iTunes history. And we do this now for financial services clients, for retail clients. We create some of the biggest movie openings in American history. We do this for QSR. You know, where people round the block for a quick service product, right? And so when you want national scale, local activation with a heck of a lot of creativity, that's when we're a good marketing partner. And to answer your question about advertising formats in particular, we don't believe you can just take old advertising formats and stick them into the new.
That's cheap, that's easy.
That's cheap, that's easy. It's short-sighted. It doesn't think about the consumer, and it thinks about your short-term revenues. So in our custom radio, we don't take any revenue in the traditional sense. We don't stick on just, you know, streaming ads. Bob is, you know, let's figure it out. If you lose a customer, you lose a customer forever. So let's just figure it out and make money down the line.
Let me ask you now. Bob Pittman sometimes has the magic wand. Now you do. There's a plethora, if not a surfeit of issues that you're dealing with in the role. You've heard the other people talk. For your assets, if you could do the magic wand, one change, we could do it like that. What's top priority for you?
So David, you know me. I'm not going to give you one.
No, I know that.
I'm going to give you at least 3, right?
We'll bargain down to 2.
All right, I'll bargain down to 2.
Negotiate.
I will echo the sentiment that the panel earlier had. We need to measure seamlessly, equivalently, across media. And again, it's hard, but it's not that hard. So let's kind of all figure it out. And then the other thing I feel, and this is a little bit like what Charles was talking about earlier with the kind of spotlight shining, and they're all looking there because that's where the light is. Market mix models have become a little bit of that. right? I believe in market mix modeling. I also do believe that there are limitations and that they're obfuscated often by spend or past history, and newer media or media that are reinventing themselves don't quite show up in the models the way they should. And there are several papers here, including one from Sequent Partners and so on, that illustrate this, this topic more. But again, let's use rationality, but let's not forget the magic that got us all here in the first place.
Ooh, the magic that got here in the first place. Where's the time go? Let's give Radha a round of applause. Thank you so much. That was 11 minutes, like nothing.